And good afternoon. And I have a returning interviewee. I think this might be your second or third one.
Yeah.
Okay. And from Nora from Ebly, founder of Ebly. And, this is not about me, it's all about her. So let's begin by saying, tell us a little bit about yourself and Ebly.
Well, I am real passionate about Ebly. Our tagline is teaching the world to read, and we're very firm on that and helping teachers and educators and students become really highly proficient readers. So helping teachers help kids do that. So what EBLI is, it stands for evidence-based literacy instruction. And it's a comprehensive system that's really quite revolutionary that teaches explicitly and systematically, not just phonemic awareness and phonics, but also comprehension, fluency, vocabulary, handwriting, writing, spelling, all inclusive. I'll share my screen real quick and show you a little puzzle that we have, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. But this shows all of the pieces of EBLI to help teachers really make their life easier and help move all of their kids to their highest potential quickly so that they can get into the good stuff of reading and writing accurately and automatically and independently. So that is what we do. We provide teacher training, we provide student lessons, and we do it intertwined so that the teachers are learning as the students are being taught. And we actually even have videos where they turn on a video of me, whether you're a third grade teacher or a kindergarten teacher or an intervention teacher. And at the beginning, we do the teaching for you and then gradually release doing the great instruction for teachers, just like we do for kids. So we teach teachers all over the world. Right now, this week, we'll be having some teachers tomorrow in from 8 different states, as well as Australia and Canada. So we're reaching that goal of ours of teaching the world to read.
Well, I'm remembering back to when you let Tim Rosinski and I come on and take a look at your site. I remember those conversations from long ago, and we've had several more since. In advance, I'll say we don't always agree on everything, but there's an awful lot that we agree on. And I will put a major plug in here. I've looked at a lot of different programs and a lot of different claims, and yours is one of the very few that gets the job done on both counts. You get the job done in terms of teaching them about decoding, and you get the job done in terms of teaching them comprehension. And I find that very, very uh, enlightening and part of the reason I talk to you a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it then. I'm going to go over the first couple of questions, which are tell us about the origins of this, an explanation of what we mean by speech to print. And I did include my readers in yet that basically you're going to be giving us highlights from a webinar you did around this whole topic. So, and you'll be using some slides from that webinar. So this is kind of a setup of, if you're interested in this very, very powerful way to teach decoding, Nora's about to fill you in. Okay, so Nora, it's all you.
All right. Well, and I'm not going to do the slides because I don't know where in my thousands tabs that are open they actually are, but maybe Sam, you can share that webinar with them and we'll tell them which points, that they are.
Okay, gotcha.
Does
Will
that
do.
work? Okay, so to start out with, to talk about the difference of speech to print, which a lot of people think is just spelling instruction, but what we're talking about when I talk about it is a speech first approach. Some people call it linguistic phonics, some people call it speech to print, but it's an actual approach to instruction that's really, it's been around for decades, but it's not very highly used for some reason because it's really tremendously effective and efficient. And what the premise is that we start our students when they come into kindergarten or even preschool, based on what is a strength of our student, which is their speaking, right? Almost all kids come to school and they can speak. So we take what they know they're speaking, and then we attach the decoding instruction and the phonemic awareness instruction starting from speech, where the vast majority of phonics instruction, almost all, starts from the letters first. The letters are man-made. We create, not we, I didn't do it personally, but the humans created the alphabetic code, right? But they've a few thousand years ago, but forever, they have been able to speak. So that flips it on its head as far as we're going to take what the kids know and then attach the letters to it, always teaching the context of at least a word and matching the spellings to the sounds. So it's kind of a completely opposite approach of what is traditionally taught as far as phonics goes. And the result is that it can accelerate instruction for students exponentially so that they get to that job of independently, accurately, automatically being able to read in text and also write independently. So
Okay, I'm going
very
to put you
exciting.
on the spot here and say, because I know the answer. That's a good lawyer, by the way. Good lawyer never asks a question
Yeah.
without knowing the answer. I know the answer already. How long does this get it done versus how long other systems take to get it done? Just kind of
Yeah,
let
this
us
is
know.
kind of a touchy subject from some, but way back in the day when I learned to teach reading, because my own daughter's reading struggles, I learned from really mostly what I know is from a book called Why Our Children Can't Read. And it talked about how even in remediation, that it shouldn't take much more than 12 hours of instruction to move someone to grade level. So grade level on reading words, of course, but comprehension, that's the whole key, right? The only point of learning to read. So I own a reading center. Mostly what I do is teach teachers. Mostly what we really want to do is train and support classroom teachers, especially K-3, because if we really get reading right there, then our kindergarten kids are reading trade books and accurately doing that. That's the whole goal. If we get that instruction right in those early grades, then we're golden. But we see a lot of intervention needs. I've taught people up to 82 years old, many who have degrees. I've taught doctors and lawyers and the city planner from Los Angeles and all kinds of people who are highly educated, have master's degrees, and have never read a book in their lives. So what we do in our reading center here in Michigan, we teach virtually and we also teach in person. But when we do that remediation, it's an average, quite honestly, of 9.5 hours of our students here at our reading center. But it's because all we teach is Ebly, and we move them far and fast. And we've been doing it. Once you've taught Ebly and you've done it for a few months or up to a year, it's just like learning to read. You become automatic at it, and then you can do it faster and better. So 12 hours is what research on a program that I initially was trained in called phonographics talks about. We have had the same type of situation, and right now we're doing research in a variety of in classrooms, quite honestly, but also looking at brain imaging research for intervention to look at how long does it take before we can really have learners become highly proficient readers. And it's a
Okay.
whole lot quicker than most people think.
Okay, it definitely is a work in progress, and you're definitely that's going to be a later on question. Some of your evidence of success, but
Mm,
before we get into that, uh, two more questions on problems. Okay, problems using phonics rules and all that kind of thing. What is the quagmire you get into there? And the other is the problem of this concept of you have to teach it to mastery. And how does your program handle that instead? So those are two things
okay.
I'd like you to talk
So
about.
the speech first or speech to print, there's no need for any sort of rules or exceptions to rules or syllable types or any of those types of things that cause a lot of cognitive overload for learners, especially for struggling learners, but really for all learners. It's way too much. And it's also starting from the print first, is the print is what we are going to go from instead of our speech. So when we're doing speech first, like we do, we go with what the kids say. And even with reading instruction, our focus is on the sounds that we say and the symbols that represent them, okay, instead of like rules or syllable types or any of the things that are traditionally done. With print first instruction or print to speech, there has to be a lot of rules. The problem with rules is none of them are consistent. They all have exceptions, and some of them have more than 50% of the time are exceptions. So kids have to hold all of this information in their brain. Plus it takes a tremendous amount of instructional teacher time and student learning time to get all of these rules, and it's harder to be able to apply them and put them where they need to be, which is in reading trade books as well as writing independently. So all of those, anytime we talk about, well, two vowels go walking, or this is magic or silent, or those types of things, we know we're starting from a print first perspective. When we say, what do your ears hear your mouth say? Or what sound do you say here? We're going from the speech first perspective. And it may sound like, I don't get how that's a deal or a big deal. It's an absolutely monumental deal that, like I say, not only accelerates the instruction, but results in gains that are many times more than what most teachers have ever seen before.
Okay, and the issue of teaching to mastery, I wasn't listening carefully enough. Did you cover that?
I did not. Oh yeah, I forgot the second part. Sorry
Okay,
about. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Sam, for that. No, when in traditional phonics, there's a mindset of we have to teach whatever sound b or a or whatever sounds that we're doing until they get it to mastery and don't move on until that. But how our brains learn, when we look at the cognitive science that shows how our brains learn, we don't all just learn how to dribble a basketball or whatever, I don't know where that popped in my head, but until you're perfect at dribbling a basketball before you can actually ever walk while you dribble a basketball, much less shoot. We do these things, it's called interleaving in cognitive psychology, where you teach someone, you go back and revisit it, but you add on other things too to help accelerate the learning. So of course we want mastery for sure over time, but we don't want mastery on little bits before we're allowed to move to the next place. That makes really learning overbearing and kind of boring. And also it keeps kids stuck at a spot for a very long time when they're capable of really moving forward a lot faster. So that's
Okay, beautiful. I know one of the things that attracted me to you, a lot of things attracted me to your program, but one of the things that attracted me the most was that you're one of the few that actually has data that shows you improve both decoding and comprehension. And I promise you, nationally, the projects that can show both those things are few and far between. And some of the ways that they measure comprehension on some of the projects are a little problematical, and yours is not. So tell us a little bit about the evidence that you've accumulated to date, and also about some of the fascinating research you've got in progress there. You've got some things going on. There's going to be some very happy reading journals, I bet.
yes, I'm very happy.
I foresee a lot of publications coming out of your little place there.
Excited to spread
okay,
the
go
love.
ahead, take it over.
All right, so and now I'm forgetting your question from way back when. So as far as now, it's interesting to me too, because so little talk oftentimes is about how well are the kids doing. It's more about the people's perspective of what I like to do or what I don't like to do, where we always keep the eye on the prize, always. Every single solitary thing that we do with Ebly instruction, whether it's phonemic awareness or phonics or handwriting or vocabulary, is with the eye on the prize of comprehending what you read, reading automatically so you can free up your brain and comprehend, and being able to write it independently in a way that you can communicate with others and they can read it. If you write a great, big, beautiful story and your spelling is all horrible and you have no conventions and nobody can read it, that's a worthless task, right? So we focus on that accuracy piece, but always with the end in mind. Not like, let's look at this and do phonics forever, vocabulary forever, or whatever, handwriting forever. We interweave it all and move it so that our kids go far and fast, because that's motivating when you're learning also. And it's the whole point. So keeping your eye on the only point of teaching reading, and there is no other, is so that you can read, right? The only point of teaching spelling and writing is so that you can write and communicate with others. So we always keep our focus on that. However, if you're not reading well and you're not writing and spelling well, then there's things that are under the hood that are impeding that. We're excellent at teaching those things, but teaching them quickly. You don't build a house and build the walls for 12 years, right? Or the roof for, 8 months, hopefully. If you do, you got a really bad contractor. We don't want to do that. We want to get that house built so that we can live in it. We want to have the joy of doing what we need to do, which is live in that house. But you cannot live in a house without walls or a foundation or the pipes or whatever. So we've got to have what we need. So we are really big at building a very, very strong, solid house, but doing it very quickly, very well and very quickly, so that we can get to the joy of living in it. So same thing with the reading. We're going to make sure that all of those skills and concepts and information that you need, that are the foundation, the walls, the roof, are going to be there, and they're going to be solid, so that you don't have to worry about them while you're living in the house, while you're reading. All right. But you know that if you come across things that you are not familiar with when you're reading, or even when you're writing, you're spelling and writing, that you will have what you need from the system of instruction that you've received to be able to manage what it is that you're going to be doing. So we get tremendous gains. The older the students, interestingly, the higher the gains. I just had, but we really focus on K-3 classroom teachers because in my mind, and that was my decision, is to put a fence at the top of the cliff instead of an ambulance at the bottom. It's a lot easier to teach somebody to read from the beginning. Well, kindergarten can be a challenge for a little bit at the beginning. It's work, but they fly and you don't have bad habits to undo, as opposed to remediation for a second, fifth, 12th, 48-year-old. That, and then there's a lot of trauma around that too. So we had a teacher, for example, I just got her data. We just got the charts yesterday, where she did iReady. A lot of schools are doing the iReady test, not the instruction, but the test. She's an Ebly teacher. And she had about 75% of her kids were from 2 years below grade level, which I thought is interesting that you have 2 years below grade level in kindergarten, or 1 year below grade level. And at the end of the year, 0% of her kids were 2 years or 1 year below grade level, and 81% were at the highest level possible, up to a year or more above grade level. Also her Acadians test, which is like a Dibbles test, same thing. We do, a lot of our schools do F&P testing. We don't care what kind of testing, because you know what, if you can read and comprehend, you can read and comprehend. So whether it's testing the skills or whether it's testing the outcome, which is the comprehension, any of that, our kids typically, like if they're doing an F&P test, kindergartners will be at like a J when they're supposed to be at a D. Our first graders are typically at an M or N when they're supposed to be at a J at the end of first grade. So really double where typically they're expected to be. And interestingly, when I was looking for F&P data, so when we were making our charts, I couldn't find any. And I asked on the F&P Facebook page, hey, can you guys show me some of your data and how you show it? And nobody had any, to show. And I did have some people say to me, we don't have, it's not that significant as far as the jumps that they have in the letters. However, with Ebly, it's very significant. So we are always about that end product, which is getting all of your kids, all of them, reading to their highest potential. And if kids can talk, they can learn to read, and they can learn to read really well and very quickly when we equip the teachers with what they need. So that's our big deal. And we love equipping the teachers and having them watch their kids soar and having those kids be, really thrilled about it. So whether it's kindergarten or 8th grade students or whatever, 12th grade students, adults, having them move far and fast so that house is built and they can live in it. So that foundation and walls and roof is there so that they can read their books and do it right and well and comprehend. That's our key. And so we have been very grassroots for 25 years for the most part, because my background's a little bit different than almost everybody who's in education. And so we have really been, like I say, very grassroots about what we have done. And schools have checked out the data, done assessments and, all kinds of every area of reading that there is, of course, and had gains unlike anything they'd ever seen. And so now that kind of is finally coming to a head where a lot of people are becoming curious about Ebly. There's a lot of interest in speech first, linguistic phonics, speech to print instruction. There's first time ever in 25 years I've had conversations about it out in the open, which is exciting. And so now we have some real exciting developments that are happening. University of Virginia is leading a EIR grant for Ebly in first grade classrooms for research on that. That is just actually getting submitted this week. So to study about 100 and some Ebly classrooms, 60 schools, I think it is, with first grade classrooms around the country, mostly in rural areas. And so that's a 5-year research study. So we're very excited about that. Application just had another opportunity I can't talk much about, but come up yesterday about studying kindergarten classroom instruction with Ebly in the South. And we're also looking at some brain imaging possibility, research for intervention. So lots of things to show, because people will say, well, where's the research, or where's the, and we've seen, great, good idea, where is the research? And it's always been in my mind and all, like, we want the data, but I am not a researcher and I am not connected with a college or a school or anything, which is kind of the beauty of it. We're very independent to be able to do what we know is best. But now other people are becoming really interested in what's going on with Ebly and studying it so that we can get some really solid research out there to show people what's possible. So
okay, and I'm going to use that last statement of yours as a segue to the final thing, and that is, okay, now you've got my interest. I think you might have some of my readers' interest, and they're going, wait a minute, Maria, I can't believe what this lady's saying. I got to go see it for myself. All right, well, let's do that for a second. Let's just say, and there will be a link to your website. So let's just say we click onto your website. Whoops. Let's
Yeah, and I do want to preface this before you go there. We're building a new website right now that's so gorgeous. So then when I look at the one that we've got currently, I'm like, oh, I wish we had a new website. But anyway, it's not that this one is not.
Okay.
Good.
So there are a couple of stay tunes here. Stay tuned for that research from the University of Virginia and that research down. Did I catch it right? Louisiana. Yep. Yeah.
Mississippi.
There's more. Yeah, Mississippi. My bad. So here we go. So I'm on your website. Okay. And I'm a principal or I'm a teacher. Where should I go if I'm interested in finding out about training?
Well, if you want to jump right to training, we say go for it. We just started launching our brand new, we call it Ebly Teacher Training and Student Instruction, and it's all revised. And literally tomorrow is our first orientation. We have people from Australia and Canada and all kinds of states in the United States. We're pretty pumped about that. So when you say under, yes, learn
I just clicked it, and there we are.
Yeah, so then there's, oh, okay, this is Ebly for you for teachers. You'll see on the left, you have the ETSL online training and student instruction. This is K-3 classroom teachers, you'd go there. The remediation teachers here are older grade teachers, and then our student instruction, which we kind of bury at our reading center here. So that'll give you information. If you want to know more about really like some nuts and bolts about what we're about, the most popular thing besides our trainings, of course, that are big with educators, are the Ebly webinars right in the middle there, Sam. Do you see that at the top middle?
I just watched one and I was very impressed.
Yeah, and they can get to the
gosh, look at that. Gee, can you sound that word out for me, please? F-R-E-E. How does that sound out?
E. Wow. Yes, they're all free. I said somebody told me that I should.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Charge for these, and I'm like, no, we need to. But you'll see this. Here's one of this. This is not the speech to print one I did that you have, but it's been a hot topic, so I did that. So there's this simple handwriting one, you guys. Go to that free webinar. Not only do I tell you about stuff because everybody tells you about stuff, but I show you how to do it, how to increase your kids' handwriting almost like miraculously. So all of these things have a lot. They talk about fluency, comprehension, all the things in here. Another great thing is our phonemic awareness games. There's so much great stuff in here that will help you get to know me a little bit better, but also know what I'm showing you to do. We'll show you pictures and examples and videos a lot of times of kids and of instruction. So we have that. We also have our blog. Those are really popular, and a lot of people from all over the world come to us from those webinars.
And I would mention, I'll make a note to myself to make sure that we put a link to the blog. I follow it, and so I get your blog.
Yes, updates. We take especially this summer when we've had 50 million things going on, we have a reprieve over the summer from writing those, so we get all this other stuff done for our teachers, but they typically start up in the fall again. Another thing, Sam, that I sent you there's it's kind of like a info pack about the K-3 training that tells you all kinds of stuff. It gives you a video of what the instruction looks like in a classroom throughout the year. It's little snippets from a classroom, whether you teach kindergarten or first grade or second grade or third grade or intervention. So if you'll share those with these people, they're not on this website yet, but we're going to get them on there. But those are really new.
Well, as soon as you've got that ready, I
sent you an email.
We'll put it into the blog. The written part of the blog as soon as it's ready. Okay. And you know what? This means that we've kind of wrapped things up. I'm going to close up. I should stop sharing. That's simple. Okay. Well, that brings us down to the second to the last thing. And the second to the last thing is any final thoughts. This is your last chance to get on the and say what you want to say. But I think you've interested a lot of people here. So go ahead.
Really. And really going along with some of my conversations with you, Sam, and like I talk a lot, the science of reading people a whole lot. I'm very connected with all of that. And there's good and bad in everything, including me and what we do. Nobody knows everything, and everybody has more to learn. What I see as a problem with not having a background in education actually is that a lot of times people are like, I have this and I'm done and that's good. Ebly is a system, it's not a program. So it's constantly evolving and refining, really based on how kids even learn faster, but also what's best for teachers and what the research says we need to do. Because the research tells us in all of these areas, Summarizing is a great activity to do for comprehension, okay? Writing a summary sentence is a great activity to do for writing and comprehension. There's all the handwriting piece. There's great research on the importance of handwriting and producing those letters right and increasing that, the speed that you do that, and all of these things that we interweave for you, the educator, to make your life easier. But if all of us continue to have that openness in our mind, like, what else can I do differently? This is a question that I highly recommend everybody ask themselves, okay? When you are across from any student who is not reading accurately and automatically and understanding what they read, and you're having some, sticking points, ask yourself the question. There's only one question to ask. What do I need to do differently? So often we put a label on a child, or we tell them why they can't this, and put these limits, when really the strategy and the model that we use is, what do we need to do differently? Whether it's teaching a learner that's learning to read or read better, or whether we're teaching teachers, these teachers are not, they're having some confusion here. What do we need to do differently? And when you do that, it's so empowering, because you know that you can change and refine what you're doing to help them. I've learned so much about so many areas by doing that. And then I share it with the teachers, usually not explicitly, but I kind of bury it in all of our lessons and that type of thing. So there's cognitive processing training that's going on with all these things that you're doing with teaching Ebly too. So what do we need to do differently is a great question for all of us who teach anybody to be asking ourselves. I think that's a big key. And let's continue to grow and grow until we really have 95 to 100% of our kids being highly proficient, in adults and society, highly proficient readers and writers and spellers.
Well, I'm rather sure that you and your organization, you and your program will have a very positive impact on all that happening. Now we come to the very last hokey part of a Bommarito interview. And the hokey part is we do a Zoom wave goodbye. So
we just wave, yes. If you want
bye-bye. And thank you so much.
Contact us. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to help
Okay,
you out.
bye-bye.
Thanks, Sam.